There is no shortage of disturbing statistics about the cost of a college education today. Family incomes in the United States grew by 147% between 1982 and 2007. The cost of college grew 440% during the same period. Total student loan debt is now over $1 trillion. That's more than the combined GDP of Norway and Belgium. 1 in 5 college grads have jobs that don't require a college degree. 1 in 6 student loan borrowers default on their loans, totaling $67 billion in defaulted student loans. These statistics only scratch the surface of the disturbing state of a college education today. But there are some statistics so disturbing and outrageous that grinds my gears, and textbook prices are one of those. Textbook prices have increased by 1,041% since 1970. Rising faster than healthcare, home prices, and inflation itself. In fact, students have to set aside around $1,000 each year for books and other course materials, which is an exorbitant amount of money for students who come from low-income backgrounds. The textbook scam is beautiful. Instead of making all the books digital and saving thousands of acres of trees, they created a hybrid system. They have combined the textbook with an access code that allows you to get online content. For instance, most colleges use a free site called Blackboard. It's where professors can post announcements and where students can submit homework and quizzes. To log in, a student needs his or her college ID. Yet some professors decide to forgo Blackboard and use separate websites owned by the textbook companies. These websites are not free and not open to all students, and they require individual access codes. You get an access code from the textbook produced by those very same textbook companies. But the really brilliant angle is that the access codes can only be used once. You can't buy a used book anymore, because the book will not have an access code and you will not be able to complete a single assignment for the entire semester. So even to do your homework, you have to pay $200 up front. You can't sell your used book back at the end of the semester because nobody wants a textbook that is essentially useless. For example, a $300 textbook comes with a code that is non-transferable, and if you try to buy a used book, you also have to go to the publisher and pay $200 for a new code. Publishers are not only destroying the used book market, they also make tremendous amount of money selling the access codes. It's such a brilliantly evil and ruthless way to force students to buy an overpriced product and cut off any more affordable alternative. For years, it has been a standard practice in the college textbook business to churn out new editions of textbooks, even in such slow-moving fields such as formal logic or metaphysics. In fact, in order to get a textbook contract with most publishers, professors have to agree to produce X number of new editions within a set period of time, typically 3 editions in 5 years. If you look at, it's completely bogus. The sole purpose of the new edition is to undercut the used textbook market. It's effectively a tuition surtax on students that gets paid directly to professors and publishers. There are some colleges in the US that are publishing department-specific textbooks. That's essentially standard tags with an added chapters that consist something like department-style guide, adding a notice to the book that reads, "This book may not be bought or sold used." The publisher then sends a royalty to the department, which department usually forgets to tell the students about this arrangement. It's completely understandable if astrophysics or biology textbook coming out with a new edition every year, because those are the subjects that tend to change fairly rapidly. But a 10th edition human anatomy textbook? Or a history of Western civilization? Do publishers even realize what an oxymoron a new history book is? This is perhaps the most pervasive of all the sinister textbook company practices. As we have talked in the previous episodes about the Apple's business strategy revolving around planned obsolescence, textbook companies are even worse, and their business model itself is planned obsolescence. If some guy at a publishing company finds a new fancy picture of photosynthesis, guess what? New edition. A typo is discovered on the page 815 of that new calculus book, new edition. If a publisher guy finds 7-year-old Socrates looks more athletic than him in a philosophy textbook, new edition. Calculus hasn't changed much since Newton and Leibniz invented it in the 17th century, but in the span of just 13 years, yet there have been 8 editions of James Stewart's best-selling calculus textbook, which cost $250. The profit which allowed Stewart to build a $24 million home with its own concert hall. But there was some startup companies that tried to change this trend. One of them was a company called Boundless. This company worked with an open educational resource movement that has produced high-quality texts, videos, and other useful content in a huge array of subjects. Boundless curated their content and organized it in a way that mirrors popular textbooks. For instance, if you have been assigned to read Chapter 4 of Principles of Economics about supply and demand, you can simply head to the Boundless and get a free content that covers the same ideas and concepts. Not surprisingly, 3 biggest publishers tried to sue Boundless out of existence. They didn't argue that Boundless actually copied what is written in their textbooks, because it didn't. Instead, they argued that the order of chapters is sacrosanct, as if deciding to put Principles of Supply and Demand before Elasticity is so complicated and critical that it's worth $300. Eventually, they have reached the terms which are confidential and the lawsuit had been settled. In 2015, Boundless was acquired by the new company, and the new company decided to make money monetizing its content. At the end of the day, textbooks are important and they help us expand our knowledge, but the textbook printing industry is completely crooked and a scam. One of the biggest reasons why this scam works is the lack of competition. 4 major publishers control more than 80% of the market. These major publishers also tend to avoid publishing books in subject areas where their competitors also found success, which ends up limiting professors' options for what to assign. Interestingly, this reminds me of a Phoebus Cartel. Well, in 1924, all of the big major light bulb manufacturers colluded with each other, limiting the lifespan of their bulbs from 2,500 hours to 1,000 hours, just to manipulate the market and sell more light bulbs. Well, that forced consumers to buy light bulbs much more often, generating a huge cash flow to light bulb companies that colluded with each other, otherwise known as Phoebus Cartel. This is the pure form of planned obsolescence that publishing companies build their businesses around. And if you want to know about this story more, I made a video about Apple's role in this business strategy. I'll put in the cards if you want to check it out. If you are a student or a curious individual who wants to learn stuff, I'll put links down below where you can get free PDF textbooks, useful content, and other kind of stuff. I hope it will be helpful. Well, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Support the channel on Patreon. If you do not have a Patreon account, YouTube recently enabled membership tab. You can join the membership here on YouTube. It will help to increase the quality of the video production. Please subscribe if you haven't and hit the like button if you liked the video.